Good morning, class. Dear children, today we are going to do something very important. We are going to do story writing. But more importantly, I'm going to teach you how to plan the story. A lot of times what happens is that you simply pick up your pen or pencils and start writing a story, and you start writing as the story develops in your head. Now, that is not the right way, because you don't complete all the elements required for writing a story. So the first thing is to know about those elements that are required. A story, children, has 5 elements or 5 parts. And if you lose out even one part of the story, your story becomes very difficult to be read and to be understood. If your story is not planned, what will happen is you will jump from one thing to the other. So you must always very quickly plan a story first. So let us see what are the 5 elements of the story. Now, what are the 5 elements? Setting, characters, problem, plot, and solution. So how are you going to start? Now, where would you start? That is very important to understand. Once you have come to know the different parts of a story, you need to know from where to start actually. Which is the part that you need to start. So many a times what happens is you people start with this setting. You write about a forest and how there were a lot of trees and flowers and squirrels running from one place to another. And you write about the sun or the moon and all sorts of descriptions. And you have a word limit of 200 to 250 words actually for writing a story. And while you are writing all this, you have used about 70 words in the setting itself. That way, you will not be able to write a good story because you have not been asked to describe the setting. The question is not based on the setting. The question that you have been asked is to write a story. So be careful. Don't start with the setting. Always start with the problem, because then you can't go wrong. If once you start with the problem, your story will never go wrong. Suppose you are asked to write an adventure story and you start with the problem, like there is a tiger in the jungle and it is chasing you. You start with the problem. While running, you fall down, you sprain your leg or your ankle, and you cannot walk anymore, and then there is a storm. See, the problem has already been taken care of. Another example of a story: the boy was kidnapped. That is a problem. The princess was not happy. She doesn't go out to play with her friends. That is a problem. The ring was stolen. That is a problem. So you have to decide what is the problem first. The minute you decide the problem, your work is done. Now next is the setting of the story. So now you would like to know from where the ring was stolen. From where was the boy kidnapped? Was he kidnapped from the temple? Or was he kidnapped from the mall? So depending upon all the questions like why, when, how, where, you will have to think of the setting. The princess won't go out. That means, where was the princess? Was she in the palace? Or has she been scolded by somebody that she is not happy? And what about the stolen ring? Was the ring stolen from the temple or a shop? Or is it a magic ring? Now, when you think of the settings, you can write or describe the places. And now you must use all those wonderful descriptive words like the adjectives, the adverbs. All these can be used when you describe the setting. You can talk about the atmosphere, etc. So now the question comes, are you going to write a lot about the setting? No. You need to limit your setting to maybe about 30 words. Not more than that. It should be short. Because the reader would not be interested in the setting. Instead, the reader would be interested to know what happened or what are the actions that followed. But now, before you move further, you need to think of the characters. You may think of having a hero. That hero can be tall, dark, handsome fellow. It may be a clever girl, or then you may think of having a villain in the story who is going to stop you from doing something good. Then you may have some supporters also in the story. Like, supporters means the people who are going to help you out in finding out certain things. Like, you can have, in the case of a temple, if you have a temple in the story, you can think of a character like the pujari. If you are talking about the jungle, you may have a monster there. Or if you are trying to find a kidnapped boy who has been kidnapped from the mall, you may come across a cricketer who helps you. So, you are the creator of a story and you will have to decide the characters that you are going to use in your story. I hope this is done. Now, then you will answer the questions. How did the ring get stolen? Is it the thief coming to the house? Is that the action for the stolen ring? Or is it the man dressing up like a pujari and going to the temple? How did it get stolen? So there is a big question, how? This you are going to answer next. So that will be the plot. What happened to the missing ring thereafter? What happened to the boy? Then would there be a set of things that happened? There would be certain set of things like what happened? This happened, this happened, this happened. So there are going to be many things that happened. Maybe the king called the friends of the princess to make her happy. Or he announced a reward. Now there needs to be a rise in the story. The story needs to come to a peak. And that rising action, there has to be a rising action. That rising action, which you call as the climax. A point where something dangerous or something thrilling is going to happen. Maybe the boy escapes from the kidnapper and he is hiding behind the sacks of grain in the godown and he feels like sneezing. And he is sure that if he sneezes, somebody will hear him and catch him again. Now, what does he do? So, this is the rising action when he is almost going to be caught again and the reader is waiting to know what happened to the boy. So that is the rise in the story. Correct? Right? Now, then at the end comes the solution. How the boy escaped, how was the ring found, how the princess went out to play. That is how the story comes to an end. I hope you have understood how to write a story. So once again I repeat, the first thing that you are going to think about is the problem. This is number 1. Second thing is the setting. Third is the character. Next is the plot. And last is the solution. And very important thing, children, the story is always written in the past tense. I hope you have understood. Okay, I'll be sending you the notes regarding this. I'll be giving you the notes tomorrow. Okay, thank you. Have a good day.